How do we stop fear from destroying our chances at adventure? Today, I want to share with you one of those moments when I was faced with a lot of fear and how I overcome it to unleash all of the adventures that I had awaiting for me, even though I didn't believe I deserved them. From that experience, I learned 3 things that were pretty essential to preventing you from missing out on any adventures in your human life that could be related to fear. Hey, welcome back. My name's Blake, and I guide those on a spiritual journey to help answer the questions that they didn't even know they had. Today we're going to be talking about fear. Fear is one of those things that we will use as a reason to not do things. We will use as a reason to avoid the difficult things that we really want to do, the things that are going to unlock our authentic selves and our spirit and our joy. If you want to have a really great human experience, that you're able to recognize these fears and challenge them in a way that doesn't deny those things that you really want out of life. I'm going to share with you a story from my past where I navigated fear and I benefited from that experience without letting it conquer me. That process taught me 3 things that are essential for battling fear and preventing it from destroying your opportunities and your adventures in life. So I ended up in Moab, Utah. I didn't really know much about it, but I was super excited to go explore something different than Colorado, and so I rented a car and I drove out there. While the trip for the most part was really great, the whole time that I was going out to Utah and the whole time that I was there was a lot of bad weather that was coming through, and it seemed like at any moment we could have a lot of rain and it could really have shut down a lot of the exploration that I had on this very short trip. So it's one of my last days in Utah. I get up at about 6 in the morning, check the weather. I was convinced that I was going to get rained out that day. But I decide to go ahead and get ready, and I get in the car and I start driving. And as I'm driving to the trailhead, I look up in the sky and it is black clouds. Like, it looks like hell on earth is about to open. When I get to the end of the trailhead, it hadn't started raining yet, so I was still kind of optimistic. But when I stop at the trailhead, all I see really in front of me is a bunch of mountain. And I'm not even really clear where this trail is going to take me, around the mountain. So sitting in the car, I was really struggling with this idea of just kind of being worried about all these components that were kind of coming into play here. What may happen or not happen. That fear was limiting me. It was taking away from this opportunity that I could have. I was doing this alone. I really didn't have anybody to motivate me or really encourage me to go through with this. A lot of that had to come from within myself. And I think that's maybe where the first bit of the success came, was I recognized that I was scared. I acknowledged I'm nervous. I acknowledged that I am worried about this whole thing. And once I finally did that a few times, I got out of my car, locked it, and I just started walking towards this trailhead. I was super concerned, but I went through it anyway. I walked into the fear and I walked down that path. And honestly, after about maybe even 5 minutes of walking that trail, I didn't have any more fear. I didn't really have any more concern. I kind of surrendered to, this is what it is. And as I went up this trail, it kind of like switched back and forth across the mountain. And as I kept going up, my car, which stayed visible the whole time, just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it was very interesting that that big mountain that I had seen when I stopped was the path. It was the trail. And as I got up to the top of this mountain, one of the really cool things about the Hidden Valley, once you get up to the top, there is an opening. And it's a small little opening. When you cut through that path, it all opens up, and then you're in this massive ridge between 2 large little mountain ridges. And there's a path that goes for 7 miles before it comes back around and you exit out the exact same way. And that first part of that hike only took maybe 20 minutes. I spent more time in my car debating and contemplating, backing out on this whole adventure than it took me to climb the mountain to get out of that terrible weather and terrible environment. On this hike through the valley, it was such an incredible experience. It was so peaceful. It was so rich. It was so lush. It was all flat. Like it was after the hike up the side of the cliff, it was really peaceful, really calm. And it was such a parody for these things that we go through in life where we constantly are bombarded by fear that tries to convince us that this is not a good thing to do, that we're not capable of it. It's not possible for us. But the reality is that once you get up there and once you actually try, it's actually super easy. The difficulty is being made in that moment where you're down at the bottom of the hill and you're debating all the choices that you made up into that point. And all you need to do is get up the fucking hill and realize that there's a lot of sun up there and there is some beauty and amazing peacefulness that can be experienced. And this just isn't every time you go to Moab, but every time in your life. There are so many things that we face on a daily basis, these opportunities and these calls to adventure that we're constantly turning down because we're too scared. And we don't have to be that scared. We can embrace it. And we can find that there is an enormous amount of beauty just waiting for us to receive. So what are the 3 things I learned from this? I kind of teased them throughout the story. The first is recognizing your fear. You're going to have these feelings come up where you just not so much verbally witness, but emotionally witness that I'm scared or I'm nervous or this is new. It's important to remember it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to do new things and have them be scary because that's what makes life interesting. And it's also what makes conquering these things so much more profound. The second thing is owning it. Once you have actually felt those things and recognized, okay, this is fear, then actually admitting to yourself that I am afraid, I am scared, I am nervous. Saying it even out loud and being honest with yourself about the way that you feel really gives it a way to resonate to you that this isn't actually something that's real. It's just a way I feel. And I don't have to feel this way. I can choose to not feel this way. Or I can just acknowledge that I do feel this way and still go on with it anyway. Which brings up number 3, go towards it. You really have to just face your fear and do it. I know it's easier said than done, but the reality is sometimes you need to just be afraid and go be afraid. And I can guarantee you at some point, relatively quickly, you won't be afraid anymore. You will have conquered that ego that's trying to keep you safe and protect you. And you'll realize that there's a whole life on the other side of that. Whenever you actually break through this, you'll start finding the confidence, you'll start finding the authority, and you'll start finding and connecting with your version of your higher self who's already been through it and he's already reaped all the benefits from the opportunity and the adventure. Do you resonate with any of this? Is there anything recently in your life that has been and brought you fear that you've been able to push aside and still follow your adventure? If so, please leave a comment down below. I really want to hear your story and understand how something like this has resonated with you. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you in the next video.